All right. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Susanna Maniscalco, Business Development Manager at Ingram Micro Cloud, working with MSP partners like yourselves, helping you grow your cloud business. The webinar is being recorded, so I wanted to let you know that. In this webinar, we will be speaking to one of our key partners about how Connectwise helped them accelerate their business. I would like to introduce you to our special guest, Peter Cantarellis, CEO at Lookup. They are a managed service provider which delivers modern workplace, IT support and cybersecurity for Australian businesses. Peter has been in business for over 20 years and is a long-standing partner of Ingram Micro. Welcome, Peter.
Hi, how you going?
We also have James Hancock, Senior Marketing Manager at Connectwise. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Susanna. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're just going to kick it off. So I just wanted to cover, I guess, the agenda today. What we'll be going through is best practices while implementing new applications. We'll also identify and manage risks in the migration process, but talk a bit about that. Some key learnings that Peter had experienced by going through the Connectwise journey, and what steps were put in place to ensure successful data migration. Also, how to ensure user adoption while delivering an ROI. Now, there is a chat box available. Please feel free to type your questions through. We'll do our best to answer all the questions at the end. I think the best view for you is if you can make sure you click onto that grid box, and you'll be able to get a better view there. Now I'll hand it over to Peter and James.
Thanks, Susanna. So, Peter, thanks very much for joining us for our discussion today, and thanks for everybody who's logged in to hear about Peter's exciting journey. So, Peter, you've spent your career to date within technology. You've worked within the MSP environment before starting up your own MSP, Lookup.
Yep.
If you can tell us just a little bit about your history and why did you decide to set up an MSP?
I suppose I got to the age of 25 and I was working for other companies in retail, especially, and I wanted to get back into the IT space. So I decided to start a business back in 2000, new millennial, with a couple of other guys, and we kicked that off. And the idea was that we're going to help out SMBs in professional services mainly, with websites and IT services and networking and stuff like that. And then we moved on from there. It's been a long journey. About 6 years ago, I ended up being on my own and continuing to brand in the company. And more recently, I've got another partner in the software arm of the business. So that's so now we're moving into software, cybersecurity, and we've got our MSP business as well. So there's three sort of areas of business that we're looking at.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Starting up a business is never an easy thing. There's obviously a lot of processes and systems and things that you need to put into place to ensure that the ultimate dream in which you're trying to build becomes a reality.
Yeah.
At the start, it's always the most challenging time at the start. Can you please share with us some of the operational challenges you experienced during the first few years within Lookup?
I think, the main challenges are trying to get, quotes out and invoicing and collecting money and agreements set up and so forth. And managing all that is very hard if you don't have a seamless. There was not, at the time, there wasn't anything that was a platform that allowed us to do that seamlessly. So we started off, with Excel for invoicing. For quoting, and then we had MYOB for invoicing, and then we had Manage Engine for ticketing systems. We couldn't manage agreements in there. We didn't know which of our clients were profitable, or transparency and reporting wasn't there as seamless as it needed to be. So that were a lot of the earlier challenges. When you're small and nimble, it's a little bit easier to manage, but as you start getting more clients on board, it becomes impossible to manage. You don't know who's profitable. You don't know which team members are actually productive as well, who's working hard, who's not working hard, what customer service is like. You've got no real transparency or visibility around all that stuff. So that's probably That was a sort of a come to reality moment probably about 3 years ago when we hit, maximum sales we've ever had in the history of the business. And then maximum amount of people, like I think we had 19 people working for us at that time, and we had our lowest profit ever. So highest sales, highest employment, lowest profits. It was just insane. So that was like, stop, time to look in, and that's what we did. So, and then we started this journey, the Connectwise journey.
Okay. So what you communicated was that, managing time, there was a lot of inefficiencies.
Yeah.
There's lack of transparency. You're working in data silos, information silos.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had obviously multiple number of applications doing different things, which didn't allow for a seamless interaction from
Correct.
from point to cash.
Yeah. There was no integration between each layer. And as I said to you, highest revenue, lowest gross margin, lowest profit that year, and it turns out that we actually lost. There was errors, about 160 grand worth of errors that year, that last year, before we sort of started the journey of migrating over to Connectwise. So yeah, it was just, and not only that, there was, I had heaps of resources, like people here working here, but because there was no automation between the different processes, seamless integration, there was a lot of friction between employees as well. So it created a bit of a toxic culture, started emanating against our value proposition, stuff like that. So it really came down to leadership making a decision about it. Let's look at ourselves and our processes and our systems, and let's review what we do it for everybody else out there. We do it for our customers all the time. It's time to look after our own backward house. So that's the journey. That's how it sort of propagate. And when you're making record sales and you're making record losses, it's crazy situation to be in. So
yeah. You communicated that one of the ramifications of the processes and practices and so on in which you had in place was building a toxic culture. If you look back at the challenges you were experiencing, what were some of the ramifications? What were some of the key problems and outcomes from those problems that were hindering the business in becoming profitable or being able to grow and scale?
Well, it starts right from the beginning. So managing the CRM, or managing clients or new business or existing business and new quotes. So from the quoting stage. So we started the quoting process, and then we'd win that process, and then it was a manual process into transferring that data into an invoice system, and then from there putting an agreement into another platform that correlates. So there's too much manual process all the way through, and sometimes it's different people doing those roles, and then what happens is mistakes happen, and everyone starts pointing fingers. So it's like, you made that mistake, or you made that mistake, or you made that mistake. And then that creates that toxicity in the business. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's the kind of situation we were in. And then, you waste a lot of energy and realize at the end, oh, hang on, we're human, make mistakes, let's move on. But you've wasted a lot of time. It's created a lot of inefficiencies. It's created, people to double handle things and come back to, things take twice as long, and the cost of the business was astounding in wastage. So, yeah.
Okay. So obviously those manual processes have been now removed from the business.
Yeah.
And you've automated a lot of those to ensure that there's no departmental friction, because there's now a reduction in human intervention in populating data and so on. So that's obviously quite a big step there. So if we take a look at the automation process, the removal of those manual steps, but then removing the friction between the integration between the applications you were using for different business processes, how much do you think that's actually cost you, or how much do you think that saved you?
Saved us. I mean, we're down to, I think we halved our numbers for the same revenue, and then we've added 5 new developers and software arm now, and we're building out a security arm. So we've got we've gone from 19 down to 10, back to 16 people. But we're doing even more revenue than we were doing back then. So and we've got new streams of business that are starting up. So so it saved us about 30% off our bottom line in terms of cost savings, in terms of labour, and we're more productive now. And there's no stress in the business. Even our customer service stats are unbelievable. Our SLA turnaround times are like 99.9%. We've got one-touch resolution, which we never were able to do that before for our customers. We can do customized, specialized customized agreements suited to the customer needs rather than a blanket, SLA for everybody kind of thing. So that's where it enables us to differentiate in the marketplace. Especially, we've got a lot of retail clients, and they have special needs that are a little bit different to, say an accounting firm or a law firm. And then you've got, the medical world where we're getting quite a bit of traction in medical practices now too, and they've got special needs as well. And we're identifying those needs, and we're able to create agreements within Connectwise that let our technicians know, it doesn't matter who's working at what time of the day, that when this type of activity comes from this type of client, fix it right now, don't wait, and that's very unique as a offering, and a differentiator in the marketplace. That's and it's enable us to provide a great service to our customers and transparency around service.
Thanks for that, Peter. You touched on customers and how you're now able to be more responsive to your customers. Being able to not only satisfy your customers, but to delight them are two different things, and be able to elevate your levels of customer service, because being able to identify customers is difficult, so being able to better service manage them is obviously a high priority there.
And that's right. The other big thing is that I also identify who's profitable and who isn't as well. That's something that we couldn't do before. So now we can actually, look at our clients and get reporting out of the system that tells us, this is MSA, because we do fixed modelling as well. So it's all fixed price, unlimited service. So it's really important for us to be able to do. I mean, we couldn't do that before, but we can now. And now we can easily run a report that says, hey, which clients are continually exceeding our budgeted levels of support for their contract, for example. So we can have different, and that's really important. And that's actually improved our profitability as well.
Yeah. So information, you've talked about information and being able to pull information. Without information, you're kind of running a race blind, aren't you? You don't know which levers to move, which way to go, where to zigzag, and how to make most accurate decisions.
Yeah.
How have you leveraged data to help deliver a better customer experience and further build those relationships with those customers?
Yeah, that's been a really important one, because as we become more proactive in our service offering, and especially through the automation tool, Automate, we're able to write scripts that monitor things and when systems break, recover them without the customer realising that they've gone down or that application's broken. So we're doing all this work in the background, and then they start thinking that we're not doing anything, because nothing's going wrong, everything just works. And then there is a justification piece that we do strategic business reviews, mostly every quarter, where we go out and then we grab that data and we show it to them. We also, some clients actually want dashboards, so they actually consider us their in-house IT department. So and then there's the other type of client who we're co-managing. They've got an in-house IT and we're co-managing together. So we provide them with live dashboards and access. There's another feature in Connectwise called Streamline IT, and so we give them our tool set to help manage their business as well as a co-managed situation. So we're very transparent, very open in terms of our service and our offering, and we showcase how good we do, and if we're doing bad, we showcase that so we can get better at it. So improving that customer journey all the way through.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks, Peter. It's interesting because, I've spoken to hundreds of MSPs over my career, and they say similar things in what you do. It ranges from small MSPs, from 2, 3, 4 people, right up to 20, 30, 40 employees. They still experience the same things of information silos, lack of automation, challenges in integration, but ultimately it comes down to being able to pull information from systems and being able to leverage that information to make informed decisions. I think a lot of people think it's a case of, well, that's just business, that's the pain points we do, we're just going to put up with them. But when people dive into a little deeper, they realise, well, there's something we can do to change it and improve the quality of our working environment and our working life. So you've shared with us, I suppose, some of the challenges you were going through before the change was made. What was the trigger event? I mean, you sat back and you've taken an existing technology environment and said, I'm going to rebuild this. I'm going to start from scratch.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big move. Not everyone would want to do that. It's nearly like open heart surgery to a degree. There's an element of risk to it, but I also said if you don't do anything, you're kind of going backwards within a business world. What went through your mind for you to decide, I've got to do something, and this is the scale of what I've got to do to try to change my business, to position us and put us in a position to best move forward?
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're in IT, I suppose, and there is a level of confidence that we've done this. I do this for other clients all the time. I have those, hard conversations about their systems and why they need to change and how they need to automate and how that's going to improve their processes. And so we kind of know what we have to do. The come to Jesus moment for us, and I'm sorry if I've offended anyone by saying that, but is that I lost 160 grand and I didn't see it. I didn't preempt it. And I'm in IT and I'm a smart guy, and I should have picked that up somehow, right? So and I picked it up when it was too late and it was hard to recover. And then I thought, well, time to do some spring cleaning. It's time. That's it. Like you can't. You keep pushing it, but then and you think everything's okay, but then you get a rude awakening like that, and you think, well, that could have gone. That 160K could have gone onto my home loan. Could have gone somewhere more productive than losses. Could have donated to a charity even, and helped somebody else rather than losing it as such. But so yeah, that was probably the icing on the cake. I mean, also the other fact was really exciting times. We're growing, we're getting clients. We're at the record sales. This was the second year that I was in as a sole director of the business. So I was excited, but it was painful. Like we had a lot of pain around us. So because of that pain and the fact that we lost some money and people were, the culture was. I was losing that cultural element as well. I thought we've got to. I can't even look at the data to give me the right information so I can start to begin to fix things. Yeah. So I needed to consolidate and get everything onto one platform, and that's why I knew what I was looking for. I just didn't know what it was at that stage, and so I went to market and started looking around the platform.
Thanks for that. I think you mentioned the word spring clean. You needed to do something, and it's funny because you said, I didn't know I lost this money, and you said 160 grand. If you work out how much sales you need to sell to make 160 grand, it just wasn't a loss of 160 grand. It was a bigger loss than that because you need to sell X much more to recoup that 160 grand.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. It's lost money. It's done for. You know what I mean? That's the problem with it. So.
I think hindsight's a beautiful thing, but you also mentioned you don't know what you don't know, and until processes and steps and cultural things, and there's a whole raft of things. I suppose it sounds like you've put into place to now know what you need to know, and be confident that you've got the culture, processes, systems and everything in place to provide that transparency?
Yeah, it's all in. So we went all in on everything. So we thought my idea around that was, let me just go all in on the whole suite, and then I can assess it as I go along anyway. And then we can, because as you said, you don't know what you don't know until you start using the platforms. And the great thing about Connectwise is that it's open to other third-party applications as well, in areas that it doesn't do, like Brightgauge is a good example. Super, great customized reporting and dashboards, and that's an example of So we went all in, not only on Connectwise platform, but everything else that snaps in for automation, even Y-Sync for direct debit payments, agreements. There are no more mistakes, billing mistakes anymore either. Like if a customer increases their licenses or user count, the agreement gets updated, it seamlessly automates. No one has to go to a direct debit machine website and update that, or forget to update it, because that's what happened. They forgot to update it for this month. That's how we lost money along the way. So all this stuff's automated out. So it's great, and we're ready to scale. It's supercharged the employees, so the employees are doing a lot more productive with a lot less time because of the automation aspect of it. So, and everyone's happy because they love it, because everything just works seamlessly.
Yeah. And, culture is such a big thing nowadays because it's harder to find talent. It costs a lot to train talent, and then you've got to retain them and so on. So keeping happy employees within MSPs is just crucial. We all know the challenges we've experienced this year, and, a lot of MSPs have really had to knuckle down on what to do to retain talent. And there are some MSPs that didn't have best practices, didn't have processes, didn't have things. And I've heard stories of these employees leaving to other MSPs because they can. And there are other MSPs that are doing very well out of the environment. So retaining employees is crucial within the limited marketplace in which we have. So you've bitten the bullet. You have. You've gone out. You know what you wanted. You've identified what you needed to address, and you've just sat down and obviously built a plan on what to do to address this. Why did you select Connectwise? And the reason for that is you've got some MSPs that like best of breed. They like a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this. There's pros and cons for both. But you decided to throw your hat in with Connectwise. What was it about us that you realised, this is the vendor in which strongly correlates with our business needs, requirements, and is somebody we can actually move forward with, because you're not looking at a telephone provider which we will keep you for 2 years and then we'll swap you out. And it's not easy to swap a change. So you've obviously heavily invested with us. And it's a pretty serious decision to do so. Why Connectwise? Simply from a technical perspective, it won over another best of class product by a nice edge based on the way it manages time and recording of time. But the real reason is, and this is where it exceeds expectations to the other competitors, is around the university and IT Nation Evolve. So it's got a university program for staff. When I'm onboarding new employees, it's really easy. I can just put them on the university, they do the training, and then we show them, then they jump on our system and they learn. They've already learned how to use a product, and then they adapt it to our processes. The other, the IT Nation part of it, Evolve stuff as well, the blueprints that are on the university that showcase best practice stuff that we didn't know, that I don't know what I don't know stuff. Well, there's a lot of sharing going on in IT Nation, and that information has been invaluable. And then, since the first year we did the whole implementation cycle, got the systems in place, and then as we started learning more and more, it's like I call it, it's like the gift that keeps on giving kind of scenario. We talk about ROI, but every 2 or 3 months, as we keep assessing our processes and looking at IT Nation and joining the Evolve program as well, we're
we're learning how to keep improving our business. So the ROI keeps coming back, and it keeps improving. And that's the key takeaway. Like, we've got a platform. We've had technology. We've had Manage Engine. I looked at Autotask. I looked at other great platforms, right? But they're not. I mean, in terms of being an open platform, from a technical perspective, being open, the way it handles time and billing is phenomenal. From a technical perspective, but the support element and the partnership that we've got with IT Nation involved in the university and the blueprints and all that is just, I can't even quantify the value of that part of it, So, and that's actually helped us, navigate our business and actually start designing different arms of the business and honing in our skill set and culture and so forth. So.
Thanks, Peter. It's interesting you mentioned IT Nation Evolve, because people have said that it's the Connectwise special sauce. You don't know what it is until you've actually experienced it. But, for those who've joined us that aren't familiar with us, it's our user group. So partners that join Connectwise have the opportunity to attend a user group conference, which is really managed by the users, where people come and share insight into how they do things, why they do things, hold workshops, bring in third-party specialty consultants, and so on.
So, James, I'm all in on that one too. So there's 3 user groups that we're in. So we're in the owners one, which is an owner-level user group, and then I've got a sales one. So the sales exec group. So they're all the sales people in organisations, and they talk sales. And then we've got our service delivery manager attending the service delivery one, so that focus on technical and SGM. Like our service gross margin since I put Ray in that group went from like 30% gross margin to 55% gross margin just by him attending that group and starting to understand the science behind running a good practice, a technical practice. So, just as I said to you, that's another example of it just keeps on giving kind of thing. So it's well worth it from my perspective anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like, if I buy a Ferrari, I might have the best tool, and then you start working out how to cheat and not use it properly. But if you're surrounded by Ferrari users, you start to pick up things, especially when you've got a tool with so much functionality. You said it 100 times, you don't know what you don't know, and it's pretty difficult to absorb and pick everything up in one sitting. It's not like, trying to tie your shoelace. You need years and multiple people to pick things up. And I think it's just so important for our users, and many of our users have been able to grow and evolve just because of the sharing that's done through these user groups. So it's great to hear that you're truly maximising that avenue as well. If I look, you've touched on ROI. You've mentioned how much you've saved a number of times. You've saved on employee costs, you've saved on reduction of errors, you've saved on being able to leverage off key learnings of user groups. That if you add up all those elements, it really starts to make an impact on your business moving forward. The successful usage of an application is so crucial. You could have all the best plans in the world. You could have leaders driving it. What do you think you've done, or what have you done to ensure user adoption and that the team supports it? You mentioned the university to help train them, but is there anything you put in place to ensure that systems implemented, it's running, team, here it is, I want you to maximise it, or what have you done to truly ensure that they maximise the tools they've got?
From our learnings from IT Nation, we've adopted one of the things that we adopted is EOS, which is meeting. I don't know if people know what EOS is, but Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is a style of meeting rhythms and departmental ones. So from a leadership down to the departments, and then departments have their own. And it's about dealing with issues. So what you want is complete buy-in from your team. So even when we made a decision into signing up for Connectwise, it was done with the whole team. It wasn't done at a leadership level, even though I was pushing it. but I really wanted them to make a decision. And we all, it was a voted decision. It was a democratic decision-making process. So I wanted to buy in. And you know, like I had to argue the points and prove to the team that, you know, we're making, you know, why I wanted this product, and everyone had their voice. And part of EOS is giving everyone equal opportunity to talk about what put their own opinion through. So I think that's important. I've got a great team. They love tech. You know, good technicians are lazy technicians. I mean, and that's not that they're lazy. They just work smarter. Give them the tools. You know, give them all the tools they need so they don't have to stress out, and they can do a lot more for you, and work smarter for you, not harder for you. It's funny, like one of the sort of halfway after, like 6 months after implementation, one of my techs goes, "Oh, I was walking past it. He was one of my level 1 techs. Oh, closed X amount of tickets today," and I just looked at him and I said, "I don't care how many tickets you closed. I don't want you to close any tickets. I don't want any tickets coming in the first place." and he's just gone, "What do you mean?" I said, "I want you to learn how to script. I want you to use our automation tool from Connectwise, and I want you to build tools that preempt situations and they fix them automatically, so you don't have to waste time closing tickets." So you can, and I want you to spend your time learning cybersecurity and other things and getting certified. And then everyone heard it, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's amazing." So I'm not going to reward you on closing tickets. I'm going to reward you on preventing them from happening in the first place. And that's through, you know, I'll invest in you. So it's enabled us to sort of change that conversation in our business.
It's interesting because it sounds like you're kind of changing the roles within a business where you'd have a team which are kind of a cost center. They're there to fix problems, and you know it's costing you money to fix it.
Yeah.
And then you're taking those resources and swapping them from, okay, we've automated a lot of this process, to now, how can I better use this resource? Actually, I can sell their services out. So that pendulum swing from going from you're costing me X per hour to swinging the other side of the pendulum to you making me that money per hour. Well, that's quite a big revenue swap or change in revenue or even profit. So
that's the point. We've reduced our headcount, but we've increased our revenue, and now I've increased headcount in a completely different part of an area of business, which is software development and cybersecurity. So we got headcount there now and certifications in those areas. So and we're building value in the business because of that. I'm 45. I've got another 20 years to go. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've got another 20 to go. So I'm halfway. At some point, we're going to retire. We're going to sell, and it is about building the business, getting the business in the right way, set up the right way, so it's most valuable it can be, and to maximise that when we sell time, so we get that maximum EBITDA. And it's important to invest in the right software vendors, partners. It makes you more valuable in terms of, if you want to sell the business. So there's other people out there that are probably thinking about selling the next 5 to 10 years. There's a lot of merger. I mean, I've been offered in the last 12 months, especially during this COVID period, I've had about 10 companies trying to buy me out. And I'm like, no, what am I going to do if you buy me out? I'm going to keep going, but it's happening. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions going on. So if you have a business that has all the tools and systems and your staff are trained the right way and certified, and just going to make your business more valuable. You're going to get that multiplier. So even if you're turning over $1 million a year, or and you're profiting, 15% or 20% EBITDA, you can get up to 6 or 7 times your EBITDA value, as opposed to getting 2 to 3 times if you've got good systems in place. So.
And that's the point. I mean, if you go back 10 years ago, an MSP, or they probably weren't even called MSPs 10 plus years ago, as the IT guy or systems integrator or something along those lines. But now we've realised the importance of reoccurring revenue and the importance of having to build a business with the bones and framework that's required in order to build a sustainable business as well. If you look back from where you were to where you are now, You know, I see you've gone from unscalable to scalable. You've gone from manual to automated. You've built a business that probably relies more on, you built the framework to have that reoccurring revenue. I suppose that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
What percentage of reoccurring revenue do you think you're achieving now to where you were in the early days before you went through this transformational process?
So it's definitely increased, but I started the business that way. I was a very unique thought process back in 2000. I had fixed price servicing recurring revenue model from day one, believe it or not. But the ratio, again, I mean, people getting used to the idea and trying to sell them that concept was kind of hard back in the early 2000s. So I'd say we had about 30% recurring revenue, 70% one-time revenue, and built and time and materials type of revenue, and then to today it's the other way around. So it's more like 70-30, the other way around, 70% recurring revenue and about 30% time materials and one-time revenue.
Sure. Okay, thanks for that. Finding new revenue streams is never an easy thing. I've heard a saying there's two ways to increase your profit. It's one is to make new products and services, which is kind of difficult. It's easier said than done to come up with new products and services that position you within a competitive environment, or reduce your costs, which obviously means increase operational efficiencies. And it's a lot easier to increase those operational efficiencies than to build new products. But you said you've moved into security and software. How has your new technology environment allowed you to move into, or allowed you to sell more products and services? I mean, you said that you were able to move people over from servicing tickets to now being able to do something. What's changed within your business to now allow you to more easily do that?
Yeah, it's back to that friction. We had a lot of friction, chasing our tails all the time. Double looking at things, triple checking things, and it was just too tired, too hard to do anything new, kind of thing, because you're just stuck in this vicious cycle of chasing your tail all the time, and reacting to customers, and then putting out fires rather than you're focusing on putting out fires. But now we don't have them, so we've pretty much within 12 months, like we started the Connectwise implementation, and then within 12 months. We learned what we didn't know, and then we implemented more change that we didn't expect because of the system allowed us to do that, because of the learnings that we had through IT Nation as well, and the university and the blueprints. So it just, all these fires were permanently put out. And then all of a sudden we're going, let's put out, what are we going to do now? so we started cutting back, got rid of some of the toxic people out of the business. We left this really good quality team. And it's like, and they're flying with the tools. They're loving it because they're embracing the tools. They've got the right culture. And they're making the tools work for them. So they've got plenty of time. And I'm like, and then COVID hit. And it's like, we doubled down on COVID. We just went, okay, guys, COVID's hit. I want half the time spent on training and certification. And we just went, all our guys are getting cybersecurity training at the moment. So all our networking guys will be CompTIA Security Plus. By the end of this year, and I've got a CISO and a CISP, so that's all happening. Then I grabbed another mate of mine. We set up a partnership for the software arm. We started working on becoming a more Dynamics house, and then we stumbled upon a business that was going broke, and then we bought it and we've taken it over and we're rewriting it. So rewriting the software application, it's got a revenue stream and it's already got recurring revenue in there. We've turned that business around and recovered it, and we're building that out. So and we've got we just hired our 5th developer last week up in Queensland. So and we've got our Queensland office, which I can't get across the border at this stage. But so it's enabled me. I've got time. We've got time because we're not focusing on stress and inefficiencies. We're past that now. So we're truly past that. It's been 3 years now. It'll be 3 years now, actually right now, 3 years since we've had the Connectwise platform in place. So we're cruising at this stage. It was, now I must say, niche first year or so, a lot of work involved to, and you got to get everyone to buy in, and everyone's got to change, everyone's got to learn and adapt, got to let go of some hang-ups, old hang-ups, get rid of them, use the system, learn about the system. You've got to really learn about and how to get the most out of the platform, and you'll start seeing that 12 to 18 months time, you'll see the real ROI coming through.
Yeah.
There's some immediate stuff like that whole integration, everything just seamlessly integrates. That's immediate. That impact is seamless, like automatic, and you start getting data straight away, so you know exactly what's like. I could be. I mean, I've been off for 3 months because of a back operation, and I've got full transparency of what's going on in the business. So I've got no stress. I couldn't do that before. Business would have fallen over if I was gone for 3 months. You know.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, you said it sounds like you've been looking in the rearview mirror. You know, you're constantly looking what's happening.
Yeah.
And all your time looking in the rearview mirror, you haven't actually had the time to focus on what's ahead. And once all that noise and traffic and stuff in that rearview mirror is gone, it's like, well, no longer there. Let's start on trying to work out in how to move forward. So flexibility and scalability are two words that, you know, I've heard more than ever before in the last 12 months. What does flexibility and scalability mean to you within the environment that you currently have?
Well, now it's something that we're looking forward to, like because we scaled when I ended up when I became sole director of the business, and I started change management that I wanted to implement. We started getting scale, right? But it was very stressful. It got me very tired because I was just working long hours and dealing with, as I said, dealing with fires. But now it's like we're scaling. We've exceeded that revenue model. Yeah, we've had a bit of a hit during COVID, but we're going to recover extremely well, and we're going to keep growing. So, but scale. Yeah, the whole point is that I want to scale the business. You know, our goal is to have a satellite office in every state. You know, we started. You know, we opened up our office end of last year in Brisbane, as I said. But you know, we had to pause some of the work efforts there because of COVID, but because the borders being closed. But that'll come into play, and then, you know, we just want to keep going. We want to be. My vision is to have only local support, no overseas support. We're a local help desk, and we want to be local to every region of Australia. We've got clients everywhere. We've got a lot of franchise groups. So, and I want to keep offering SMB and franchise groups. You know, that's where our niche is, and I just want to scale that out. You know, as I said, we're only halfway, 20 years, another 20 years to go for me at least. So,
geez, Peter, you're not looking too bad. You only think you're another 20 years to go. It must be or something, because I'm starting to get grey hairs and everything else, and I'm probably looking at, I don't know, a lot longer than 20 years to go. So I've kind of probed and, you know, asked a lot of questions, and, you know, as we sat down at the start, I don't know what you're really going to say until you kind of share it with us. You know, it's like a zig and zag. We might go down one rabbit warren, and we get down that rabbit warren and go, wait a second, there's an elephant hole down the other side. Let's go down there and explore that. So I hope our audience has been able to try and follow us with the thought process we had online here. So I want to make sure that we leave enough time for any questions. And you know, I've got one final question before I hand it back to Susanna. I suppose it's difficult because we're trying to share your experience with a number of other MSPs. There are a lot of others that are sitting in your shoes that are experiencing, you know, that have all got different business objectives. You know, they're sitting down now and they're thinking 2021. Let's just forget where we've been and what happened this year, but they still need to build a business plan and start working out how to do things and start putting line items in that plan for 2021. You know, it's never easy for them to do it, but, you know, there's two types of people. They're the procrastinators, and then there are the doers. or the progressive type. And you certainly fit within the ones that are progressive, because if you're not continually looking at how to progress, or you're sitting back thinking to yourself, you know, that's just a pain, or that's just annoying, I'll get to that at a later stage, or I'll do that later. Or
I was that person. I mean, I sat on it for 17 years before I made it. You know, as I said to you, 3 years I've been partner up with Connectwise in terms of platform. So prior to that, you know, 17 years, I was that guy. We'll get there. Yeah, we'll do it later. We're just too busy. Like, we'll do it later and later. But then you lose money. Then you wake up one day, you're exhausted. The team are screaming at each other. You know, you're putting out fires between staff members. You're putting out fires with clients that they've created, and the story goes on. And you haven't got full transparency, so you don't actually know what's going on. You want to be alerted to the fact prior it happening. So you know, the one thing that Connectwise does is it allows me to put workflows in place. I can put things in place that automate and escalate. So we don't get those fires. We preempt them. It goes in, you know, if something if a ticket doesn't get resolved in a certain time frame, it gets put to a triage person. Triage person doesn't resolve it, it gets escalated to his boss, and then the third and final escalation is me, the CEO of the business. So, and I haven't had in the last 18 months, I haven't had any escalations come to me. And it's all automated. It's not like they're trying to hide it from me or anything like that. It's in the system, hardwired that way. So, yeah, like you just got to get it. You just got to get into it. You just got to go for it. You know, you just got to do it. You got to stop making excuses and get on with it. You know, otherwise you're gonna end up falling behind and losing money, or you're not going to grow your business. You're going to hit a ceiling in your business, and you're not going to be able to take it to the next level. So, you know, all in is a good approach. Or you can do it in stages. You know, start with manage and a good quoting tool that integrates. And then, I mean, most MSPs have got a RMM tool anyway, and Connectwise integrates to every RMM tool in the marketplace, including their own one. So you know, there's not a lot of change. Just the Connectwise managed platform is where you start, and then the quoting tool. You know, and then payment. I can't talk enough about some of the third-party applications that have integrated really well with Connectwise, like YSync, for payments and zero integration is unbelievable. That's saved so much. My admin staff have gone. I had 3 admin accounts people, now I've got 1. That's a good example of cost savings.
Yep. Thanks for that. And, thanks for sharing insight into your experience and so on. I'm going to start wrapping it up now and hand it back over to Susanna. But correct me if I'm wrong, but if I listen to your story, I think the one key benefit, apart from all the little benefits that you've experienced, has been the ability to build a business that is more sustainable, in which, I mean, you were talking about mergers and acquisitions earlier on. You're now building a legacy.
Yeah.
I think if you go back 10 plus years ago, it was, I'm sitting on my hands thinking, God, I've built this business up, but if I walk away from it, where's the value? Where's the reoccurring revenue? What does this mean? And it sounds like you've put the practices, processes, people, and so on, and relationships into place to build that legacy in which you can keep handball on or go into M&As with a bargaining chip with.
Absolutely right. And it's maximising the value in the business is really important, I think. You always got to be, anything could happen, you know, health-wise, and you might have to sell. You know, you got to have your business in a situation ready for a fire sale, and you want it to be the most valuable it can be at that point. So it's really important. This kind of investment adds a lot of value when you're ready to sell. Absolutely. We're talking 2 to 3 times EBITDA increase. I've seen it in mergers acquisitions already, where that's where people are getting 2 to 3 times, they're getting 6 to 7 times. If an American company comes in, you might even get 10 times if you're big enough. That's the other thing. The last bit is turnover, getting over 5 million. If you can get up to 10 million, then you'll get 10 times EBITDA, and that's value. That's
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start wrapping it up now before I hate to say that. I really appreciate the chat, Peter. I hope that the audience has taken away something on the back of it. I know myself, over the last couple of years, I've really put emphasis on if I hear something and I go, I need to do that, I take a note of it and I write it down, go, I've got to do it, and I make sure it happens. Because, good ideas have got to start somewhere, and you had an idea. You grew that idea, and I think you should be really proud of where you've come from and where you are now from where you started. So it's never easy starting up a business. As I said before, many other people are in your situation, whether they're small or large, they still experience the same challenges. And I think the way you've gone about modernising your business and setting it up, you should be really proud of. So I'd really like to thank you for your time. And Susanna, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Peter, James. It was excellent. I really found, conversation quite insightful. It's clear and it's evident that, Peter, you've built such a great team culture at Lookup. And it was just great to hear, I guess the whole journey around making that, first initial thought process to actually make that, bold move to discuss and start to think about how you need to transform your business. And it's great to see that Connectwise helped you do that. So I can see I don't see any questions at the moment, but I might just give it a couple of seconds to see if anyone else wants to raise their hand or chat before I move on to the next slide. Don't think I can see anyone chatting. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I guess I just wanted to wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, James, Peter, for joining. I really appreciate it. Last but not least, I just wanted to touch on the fact that how you can buy Connectwise. Daniel Matthias is the National Cloud Account Manager looking after the Connectwise product. So you can reach out to him. His details are there on the screen. By all means, you can also reach out to me. I'm Business Development Manager at Ingram Micro. There is also a 20% off Connectwise products, so you can receive up to 20%. If you have any questions or would like a demonstration or want to hear more about the Connectwise product, please reach out to Daniel or myself, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. If there's nothing else that we need to discuss, I don't think there's any questions coming through. Thank you, James. Thank you, Peter. I really appreciate it. I look forward to joining you another time. Excellent. Thank you.